My name is Serena Rogers. I'm 31 years old, and 6 months ago, I found out my best friend had been sleeping with my ex-boyfriend for 3 months while pretending to comfort me through our breakup. But the real betrayal wasn't the relationship, it was what she did to make it happen. And last weekend, at her birthday party, in front of 40 people, I made sure everyone knew exactly who they were celebrating. Let me tell you how I caught them. It starts 10 months ago, in March, when my relationship with Daniel started falling apart. We'd been together for 2 years. Good years, mostly. The kind where you talk about moving in together, adopting a dog, all those future things that feel inevitable, until they're not. But around February, something shifted. He became distant, stopped texting as much, started working late, forgot plans. All the classic signs I was too stubborn to acknowledge because I thought we were stronger than that. My best friend Natalie was there through all of it. We'd been close since high school, the kind of friendship where you don't need to explain yourself because they already understand. When Daniel started pulling away, she was the first person I called. She'd come over with wine and Thai food, let me vent for hours, told me it was probably just stress from his new job. She said I was overthinking it, that relationships go through phases, that he loved me and we'd be fine. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? By late March, it was undeniable. Daniel and I were barely speaking. When we did talk, we fought. About nothing. About everything. About the fact that we weren't talking. It was exhausting. I kept trying to fix it, to figure out what had changed. He kept saying he needed space. I didn't understand what that meant. Space from what? From me? Natalie told me to give him what he wanted. If he needs space, give him space. He'll realize what he's missing. So I did. I stopped initiating conversations, stopped asking about his day, stopped trying so hard. I thought maybe she was right. Maybe he'd come back. He didn't. 2 weeks later, he broke up with me. It was a Tuesday night, April 9th. I remember because it was the day before my mom's birthday, and I'd been planning to take Daniel to dinner with my family. Instead, he came to my apartment and ended it. He was calm, almost rehearsed. He said he wasn't happy anymore, that we wanted different things, that it wasn't working, and he didn't see a path forward. He said he still cared about me, but being together was making both of us miserable. I cried. He didn't. He hugged me, said he was sorry, and left. Just like that. 2 years over in 15 minutes. The first person I called was Natalie. She picked up immediately. He broke up with me, I said, barely getting the words out between sobs. She was over in 20 minutes. She held me while I cried. She told me he was an idiot, that I deserved better, that this was his loss, not mine. She stayed until 2 a.m., just sitting on the couch while I tried to process what had happened. For the next month, she was perfect, checked on me every day, took me out when I was ready to leave the apartment, validated my anger, let me be sad without trying to fix it. I felt so grateful to have her. Looking back, I realized that's exactly what she wanted. The first sign something was wrong in early May, about 3 weeks after the breakup. I was still in that stage where everything reminded me of Daniel. I'd see a commercial for a restaurant we liked and start crying. I'd hear a song and have to leave the room. Natalie told me I needed to stop torturing myself by staying in the same patterns. She suggested I unfollow Daniel on Instagram. You don't need to see what he's doing. It'll only hurt you. She was right. I unfollowed him. But then she said something else. You should probably avoid places you used to go to too, like Russo's. It'll just make you sad. Russo's was a bar in our neighborhood. Daniel and I used to go there every Thursday for trivia night. It was our place. But she was right. It would hurt to go back, so I stopped going. What I didn't know was that Natalie had started going to Russo's every Thursday, and Daniel was still showing up for trivia. In mid-May, I started feeling better. Not great, but functional. I could make it through a day without crying. I could talk about Daniel without that crushing weight on my chest. I thought I was healing. Natalie said she was proud of me, that I was doing so well, that most people take way longer to bounce back from a 2-year relationship. That should have been my first clue. She wanted me to move on fast, to stop caring, to forget about Daniel completely, because if I was still hung up on him, what they were doing looked worse. The breakthrough came on May 24th. I was at a coffee shop in Brooklyn meeting an old college friend I hadn't seen in months. We were catching up, talking about work and relationships. I mentioned my breakup, said I was doing better but still adjusting. She paused, looked uncomfortable. Wait, you and Daniel broke up? When? Mid-April. Why? She shifted in her seat. I think I saw him a couple weeks ago, at that bar, Russo's. He was with someone. My stomach dropped. What did she look like? Brunette? Kind of tall. They seemed really comfortable together, like it wasn't a first date or anything. I tried to play it cool, but my hands were shaking. Did you see her face? Not really, I was just passing by, but they were laughing a lot, seemed close. I thanked her for telling me and excused myself to the bathroom, where I sat in a stall and tried to breathe. Daniel was seeing someone new. Already. It had been 5 weeks. 5 weeks and he'd moved on. I felt sick. I texted Natalie. Just found out Daniel's dating someone new. Can you come over? She responded immediately. OMG, what an asshole. He moves on that fast? On my way. She showed up with ice cream and righteous anger, told me he was proving what trash he was, that any guy who moves on that quickly was probably already checked out of the relationship months ago, that I dodged a bullet. She was so convincing, so supportive. I almost didn't notice that she never asked who told me, or what the girl looked like, or where they were seen. Because she already knew. 2 weeks later, I was at a birthday party for one of our mutual friends, Jessie. It was a small gathering, maybe 20 people at a rooftop bar in Williamsburg. Natalie was supposed to come, but canceled last minute, said she wasn't feeling well. I went anyway, determined to be social and keep moving forward. I was talking to Jessie's boyfriend when I overheard 2 girls behind me. Did you see Natalie's Instagram story? She's at Russo's again. That's like the 4th Thursday in a row. I know, right? She's obsessed with trivia night now. My brain stuttered. Natalie was at Russo's, the place she'd told me to avoid, the place where Daniel still went every Thursday. I pulled out my phone and checked Instagram. Sure enough, Natalie had posted a story 30 minutes ago. A photo of a beer and a trivia sheet. The caption, "Thursdays are for the nerds." I could see part of the bar in the background, the same bar I'd sat with Daniel dozens of times. I left the party early and went home, sat on my couch staring at that Instagram story until sunrise. Told myself I was being paranoid, that Natalie going to Russo's didn't mean anything, that it was a public bar and she was allowed to go there, that just because Daniel went there for trivia didn't mean they were there together. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was very, very wrong. The next day, I casually asked Natalie about her night. Feeling better? You missed a fun party. Yeah, sorry, I just needed a quiet night. Stayed in, watched Netflix. She lied. Right to my face, without hesitation. I didn't confront her. I just said, "That sounds nice," and changed the subject. But inside, I was spiraling. Why would she lie about where she was, unless she was hiding something? I started paying closer attention. Little things I'd ignored before suddenly felt significant. The way Daniel had started pulling away in February, the way Natalie had encouraged me to give him space instead of fighting for us, the way she'd been so quick to comfort me, so eager to help me move on, the way she'd suggested I avoid Russo's while she started going there every week. She wanted me to move on because she was with him, and she needed me not to care anymore so she wouldn't feel guilty. In early June, I did something I'm not proud of. I checked Natalie's location on Find My Friends. We'd shared our locations years ago for safety reasons, and never turned it off. At 8 p.m. on a Thursday, she was at Russo's, again. I grabbed my keys and drove there, parked across the street where I could see through the front windows, and there they were, Natalie and Daniel, sitting at our table, laughing, his hand on her back, her leaning into him. At one of the bars I spent 2 years building memories with him, with my best friend. I wanted to go in there, to scream, to flip the table, to make them explain, but I didn't. I just drove home, went straight to bed, and stared at the ceiling until sunrise. The next morning, Natalie texted me, "Coffee today?" Want to hear about your week? I met her at our usual spot in the West Village. She showed up in a good mood, chatty, asking about my life. I waited until she'd ordered her latte, and then I said it. I know about you and Daniel. The change on her face was instant. The smile dropped. Her eyes went wide, but only for a second. Then she recovered, and that's when I saw the real Natalie, the one who'd been planning for this moment. What are you talking about? I saw you at Russo's together. She laughed. Actually laughed. Serena, we weren't together. We ran into each other at trivia. It's a public bar. You had your hand on his arm. Because we were looking at the same trivia question, you're reading into something that isn't there. You lied about staying in last night. Oh my God, Serena. This is insane. You don't get to interrogate me about every conversation I have. You and Daniel are broken up. You don't own him. You don't own me. I'm allowed to be friends with whoever I want. There it was, the line she'd been planning to use. You don't own him. I stared at her and I realized she was never going to admit it, not unless I had undeniable proof. So I changed tactics. You're right. I'm sorry. I think I'm still just really raw about the breakup. Seeing you two together, even as friends, it triggered something. She softened immediately, exactly as I knew she would. I get it. Breakups are hard, but you have to trust me, okay? There's nothing going on between Daniel and me. I'm your friend. I would never do that to you. I nodded, finished my coffee, hugged her goodbye, and decided I was going to find out exactly when this started and how far it had gone. That night, I made a list. Everything that had felt off in the past few months. The way Daniel had started pulling away in February, the way Natalie had encouraged me to give him space instead of fighting for us, the way she'd been so quick to comfort me, so eager to help me move on, the way she'd suggested I avoid Russo's while she started going there every week. What if it started before the breakup? I needed proof, so I started digging. First, I checked Daniel's Venmo. It was public, like most people's. I scrolled back through his transactions. March 15th, paid Natalie $40. Caption, dinner and drinks, pizza, beer. March 22nd, paid Natalie $25. Caption, coffee run, coffee. March 29th, paid Natalie $30. No caption. These were all while I was still dating him, while I was calling Natalie crying about how distant he'd become, while she was telling me to give him space. They were seeing each other, having dinners, getting coffee, and neither of them told me. I screenshotted everything. Then I checked Instagram. Natalie's photos were mostly generic, coffee cups, sunsets, food, but I went through Daniel's. He didn't post much, but his tagged photos were public. I scrolled back to April. There was a photo from April 20th, 11 days after our breakup. A group shot at someone's apartment party. I zoomed in. Natalie was in the background, standing close to Daniel. Too close. I checked who posted it. A mutual friend, Marcus. I DM'd him. Hey, was that party fun? Didn't know Daniel and Natalie were hanging out. He responded an hour later. Yeah, they've been around each other a lot lately. Kind of weird timing considering your breakup, but whatever, they're adults. So other people had noticed, and no one told me. Over the next week, I became obsessed. I cross-referenced their social media activity, their Venmo transactions, their locations when I could see them. I started noticing patterns. Every time Natalie said she was busy, she was with Daniel. Every time she canceled plans with me last minute, he posted something from wherever she happened to be. May 8th, she canceled brunch, said she had a family thing. His Instagram story showed him at Prospect Park. Her location was in Prospect Park. May 15th, she said she was working late. He posted a photo from a sushi restaurant in Soho at 9 p.m. She'd Venmoed him $35 that night. Caption, omakase. May 22nd, she told me she was sick. They were both at Russo's. They weren't just together, they were dating, actively, consistently dating, and lying to me about every second of it. But I needed more. I needed something that proved when it started and how deliberate it was. In late June, I got it. A friend from high school, someone I hadn't talked to in years, reached out. Hey, weird question. Did you and Daniel break up? Saw Natalie's comment on his post and wasn't sure. What comment? She sent me a screenshot. It was from one of Daniel's photos, posted back in February, before he even broke up with me. The photo was of a sunset, basic. Natalie had commented, "Can't wait to see more of these with you." Heart. I stared at that heart emoji for 10 minutes straight. February, 2 months before he broke up with me, Natalie was already planting seeds, already positioning herself as the next person in his life. I scrolled through more of his old posts, found another from January, a photo of his coffee. Natalie's comment, "Best mornings start like this, coffee." He'd replied, "You know it, same time next week." They were getting coffee together in January, 3 months before the breakup, while I was sleeping in his bed, planning our future. I went through her posts next, found one in March, a vague quote about knowing what you deserve. Daniel had liked it within minutes. She'd posted another in early April, right after the breakup. "Some things are worth the wait. Stars." He'd commented, "True." I felt like I was going to throw up. This wasn't a thing that just happened after the breakup. This was calculated, intentional. They'd been building something for months, while I was the idiot girlfriend who thought she was in a secure relationship. But the worst part, Natalie had helped it happen. She'd encouraged me to give Daniel space, to not fight for us, to let him pull away. She'd handed him to herself on a silver platter and made me think I was doing the right thing by letting him go. I needed to talk to someone who would be honest with me, someone who wasn't Natalie. So I called Emma, another friend from our group. We'd drifted apart over the years, but she'd always been straightforward. I asked her to meet me for a drink. When we sat down, I didn't waste time. "I need you to be honest with me. Did you know about Natalie and Daniel?" She looked down at her wine glass. That was an answer enough, but she spoke anyway. "I suspected. I didn't know for sure until last month when I saw them together at a concert. They were holding hands. I wanted to tell you, but Natalie said you already knew and were fine with it." She said I knew? She said you'd given them your blessing, that you wanted them to be happy, that it was all very mature and amicable. Emma looked at me, guilt written all over her face. "You didn't know." "No, and I definitely didn't give them my blessing." "Serena, I'm so sorry. She's been telling people that for weeks, that you're supportive, that you're happy for them. I think that's why no one reached out. Everyone thought you already knew." Natalie hadn't just hidden the relationship, she'd created a narrative where I was the cool, supportive ex who was totally fine with it. She'd robbed me of even the right to be upset because she'd already told everyone I wasn't. How long has she been saying this?
Since at least mid-May. Maybe longer. 2 weeks after the breakup. She was already rewriting the story. I thanked Emma and went home. That night, I did something unforgivable. I guessed Natalie's Netflix password. She'd used the same password for everything since high school, a combination of her cat's name and her birthday. I tried it on her email. It worked. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. And what I found made everything else look tame. In her sent folder, there were emails to Daniel. Dozens of them, dating back to December. 4 months before the breakup. December 18th. I keep thinking about our conversation last week. You're right that you deserve someone who really sees you. Not everyone can handle what you have to offer. January 10th. Coffee was so nice today. I love that we can talk about real things. It's rare to have that kind of connection with someone. February 3rd. I know this is complicated, but I can't stop thinking about you. I don't know what that means or what we're supposed to do about it, but I needed you to know. February 14th, Valentine's Day. I know you're with her today, but I hope you're thinking about what we talked about. You deserve to be happy. She was actively pursuing him while he was dating me, while I was confiding in her about our problems. She wasn't just comforting me through the breakup, she was causing it. There was an email from March 28th, 2 weeks before Daniel ended things. I think you're right that it's time. The longer you wait, the harder it'll be. But once it's done, we can finally stop hiding. I can't wait for that. She'd told him to break up with me. And then, the worst one, sent April 10th, the day after the breakup. I'm so proud of you for doing the right thing. I know it was hard, but now we can be together without guilt. See you Thursday at Russo's? I'll be the one pretending I already know what you look like naked. I slammed my laptop shut, stood up, paced my apartment, screamed into a pillow. They'd been sleeping together. Before the breakup, while I was calling her crying, she was sleeping with my boyfriend and telling him to dump me. I forwarded every email to myself, downloaded them as PDFs, saved them in a folder labeled Evidence. For the next month, I said nothing. I played along. When Natalie asked how I was doing, I said I was great. When she suggested we get dinner, I went. When she asked if I was dating anyone, I said I was taking time for myself. I smiled. I laughed. I acted like everything was normal. Because I was planning something. Natalie's birthday was July 20th. She was throwing a big party at a rented loft in Bushwick. She'd invited our entire friend group, 40 people, everyone we knew. And she'd invited me with the sickly sweet message, I can't celebrate without my best friend there. I RSVP'd yes, told her I wouldn't miss it. 2 days before the party, I asked her directly. We were at brunch, and I said it casually like I was just curious. Have you talked to Daniel lately? I keep seeing him on Instagram and wondering how he's doing. She didn't even flinch. Oh, not really. I think I ran into him a few weeks ago, but we didn't talk much. Why? Just wondering. It's weird not having him in my life anymore. I'm sure, but it's better this way. You'll find someone who actually appreciates you. She looked me right in the eyes and lied, didn't even hesitate. That night, I finalized my plan. The party was on a Saturday. I showed up at 8 p.m. with a bottle of expensive champagne and a smile. The loft was packed, music playing, people dancing, Natalie holding court in the center of it all. She looked beautiful, happy, excited. She ran over when she saw me, pulled me into a hug. You made it. Thank you for coming. Wouldn't miss it, and I meant it. I spent the first hour mingling, catching up with people I hadn't seen in a while. Emma gave me a knowing look. She knew something was coming. Around 9:30 p.m., Natalie gathered everyone for a toast. Her roommate handed her a microphone. She thanked everyone for coming, talked about what an incredible year it had been, how grateful she was for her friends. When she finished, I raised my hand. Can I say something? She looked surprised, but handed me the microphone. Of course. I stood in the center of the room. 40 people turned to look at me. I could feel my heart pounding, but my voice was steady. I also want to thank Natalie for being such an incredible friend, for being there for me through my breakup, for supporting me when I was at my lowest. People smiled, nodding. Natalie looked touched. I continued. Breakups are hard, especially when you lose someone you thought you'd spend your life with. But having a best friend who understands, who listens, who makes you feel less alone, that's everything. Natalie's eyes were getting misty. She thought this was genuine. So I want to thank Natalie for being that friend, for texting me every day after Daniel and I broke up, for coming over with wine, for telling me I deserved better. I paused, and I want to thank her for secretly dating Daniel for the last 3 months while telling me she wasn't. The room went silent. You could hear the music still playing in the background, but no one spoke. Natalie's face drained of color. Serena, what? I pulled up the first email, December 18th. Let everyone read it. Then the next one, January 10th. Then February 3rd. The room was completely frozen. Some people pulled out their phones, recording. Others just stared. Natalie started crying. You're cruel. You're so cruel for doing this. I'm cruel? You stole my boyfriend, lied to my face for months, turned our friends against me by saying I was fine with it, and I'm the cruel one for telling the truth? It's not like that. It wasn't planned. It just happened. It just happened in December, January, February, March. It just kept happening while you were telling me to give him space so he'd come back to me?
She had no answer. She just stood there, mascara running down her face, exposed. Daniel hadn't come to the party. She'd been smart enough not to invite him, but I'd send him the same emails an hour earlier with a message. Thought you should know what your girlfriend was willing to do to be with you. You two deserve each other. People started weaving, not angrily, just uncomfortable, filtering out in small groups. Some came up to me first, apologizing for believing Natalie's version, saying they had no idea. Emma hugged me and whispered, "Good." Within 30 minutes, the party was over. Natalie sat on the couch, her roommate next to her, both of them glaring at me like I was the villain. But I didn't feel like the villain. I felt light, free. I left the champagne on the table, unopened, walked out into the warm July night. My phone started blowing up immediately. Texts from people who'd been at the party, some supportive, some horrified I'd done it publicly, some just wanting details. I turned my phone off and went home. The next day, I checked Instagram. Natalie had deleted all her photos from the party. Several people had unfollowed her. Daniel had gone private. Emma posted a vague story. Sometimes the truth hurts, but silence hurts more. I didn't post anything. Didn't need to. Everyone who was there would remember. 3 days later, Natalie texted me. "What you did was unforgivable. You humiliated me in front of everyone I care about. I made mistakes, but I was going to tell you eventually. You didn't have to destroy me like that." I read it twice, then I wrote back. "You didn't make mistakes. You made choices for 4 months, and you only feel bad because you got caught. If I hadn't found those emails, you'd still be lying to me right now." She responded immediately. "We were going to tell you together. We just wanted to wait until you were in a better place." I was never going to be in a better place to find out my best friend fucked my boyfriend while we were still together. There's no good time for that. You were waiting until you didn't feel guilty anymore. That's different. She didn't respond. I blocked the number. Over the next few weeks, the story spread. People took sides. Most sided with me, but some thought I'd gone too far. That public humiliation was cruel, even if she deserved to be called out. That I could have just ended the friendship quietly. But here's what those people don't understand. She'd already rewritten the narrative once. She'd already told everyone I was fine with it, that I'd moved on, that it was all very mature. If I'd confronted her privately, she would have spun it again, made herself the victim, made me look jealous or unstable. By exposing her publicly, with proof, I took away her ability to lie. I made sure everyone knew exactly what she'd done, not the version she wanted them to believe, but the truth. Daniel reached out 2 weeks after the party. "I'm sorry for how everything happened. I should have been honest with you. Natalie and I aren't together anymore, if that matters." I didn't respond. Whether they stayed together or not wasn't my concern. They'd both shown me who they were. A month later, I ran into Natalie at a mutual friend's birthday dinner. It was unavoidable. We had the same friend group. She walked in, saw me, and immediately turned around and left. I stayed, had a good time, laughed with people who'd chosen to stay in my life. That's when I realized she lost more than I did. I lost a boyfriend I was already losing, and a best friend who was never really my friend. She lost her entire reputation, her credibility, the trust of everyone who'd believed in her. People ask me if I regret it, if I think I should have handled it differently. Honestly, no. I spent 3 months doubting myself, wondering if I was crazy for feeling hurt, letting her gaslight me into thinking I was overreacting. The public exposure wasn't about revenge. It was about being believed. If I'd told people privately, she would have denied it, called me jealous, said I was exaggerating. But standing in that room, showing the emails, letting people read her words, that made it undeniable. 6 months later, I'm doing fine, better than fine. I'm dating someone new, someone who doesn't make me feel like I'm fighting for attention. I've rebuilt my friend group with people I actually trust. I don't think about Natalie or Daniel anymore, except when someone brings them up. Apparently, they did try to date after the party, but imploded within a month. Turns out, relationships built on betrayal don't have strong foundations. Who knew? I don't wish them harm. I just wish them out of my life. And they are. Sometimes people you trust turn out to be people who were never trustworthy. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is make sure they can't lie about it later. I didn't ruin Natalie's birthday party. She did that herself the moment she decided my boyfriend was worth more than my friendship. I just made sure everyone else knew it too. Then came the sentence that changed everything. If you were really over Ethan, this wouldn't hurt so much. Suddenly, my pain wasn't evidence of harm, it was evidence of failure. I tried to be reasonable. I told myself adults handle discomfort. I told myself feelings fade. But every time I expressed hurt, she corrected my memory. You said you didn't want sides. You said you wanted us to be happy. You said you were fine. I started doubting myself. That's what gaslighting does. It makes you audit your own reality. A month later, I ran into Ethan at a mutual friend's birthday. He looked uncomfortable, guilty. Later that night, after a drink or two, he pulled me aside and told me he needed to tell me something. He admitted Lena had reached out to him before our breakup. Not romantically, she claimed, just checking in, just supporting him. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. She told me you were okay with it, that you'd already moved on. I laughed, sharp and hollow. I didn't even know. His face collapsed. That's when I realized Lena wasn't just lying to me. She was managing narratives, telling each of us a different version of reality so neither of us would question her. After that, I stopped reacting emotionally and started paying attention. I noticed friends pulling away from me. Invitations stopped, replies slowed. Eventually, one friend admitted why. Lena had been telling people I was unstable after the breakup, that I was obsessive, that she was walking on eggshells around me. She positioned herself as calm and compassionate. I was becoming the problem. Then someone forwarded me old screenshots, messages Lena had sent months before my breakup, complaining about my relationship, saying Ethan deserved better, joking if they break up, I call dibs. Dated 6 months earlier. That's when the truth finally crystallized. This wasn't bad timing. This wasn't accidental. She hadn't fallen into anything. She'd been waiting. When I confronted her with the messages, she didn't deny them. She minimized them. She called it venting. Then she said the sentence that ended everything. If you didn't want this to happen, maybe you should have tried harder to keep him. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I stood up and told her she was no longer welcome in my life. She laughed and said I'd come around, that I always did. She was wrong. What she didn't expect were consequences, quiet ones. Friends started comparing notes. Stories stopped lining up. Her timelines cracked. Ethan stopped defending her. 3 months later, he left her. A year later, she texted me. One line, "I miss you. Can we talk?" I didn't reply. Because the betrayal wasn't dating my ex, it was lying, rewriting reality, poisoning relationships, making me doubt myself. She didn't just take something from me, she tried to replace me socially, emotionally, narratively. And when she couldn't, she called it natural. I lost a friend that year, but I gained clarity. I learned that not everyone who holds your hand is on your side. Some people are just waiting for your life to open a door they can walk through. And when they do, they'll look you in the eye and say, "You don't own people." This story isn't about revenge. It's about boundaries, about choosing yourself when someone else refuses to, and about understanding that sometimes the most dangerous betrayals arrive calmly, politely, wrapped in language that sounds reasonable. Because the people who hurt you the most rarely look like enemies. They look like friends who say, "It just happened naturally."